Hello, everyone, and welcome to my couch and not my car. The question that I want to ask is, have you ever considered how your past relationships have impacted your current relationship or the person that you are today? And aside from past relationships, even just your childhood or formative experiences. This is something that I think about a lot, and it's probably a big reason why I went into the psych field is really just understanding like why I am the way that I am. Prior to my first relationship, I would say that I was pretty reserved, shy, timid, but also very goofy and outgoing and silly, mostly with people that I felt safe with. And I would say that's probably a lot like who I am today as well. In addition to that, I think I had a lot of feelings growing up, which I've talked about before. Just a lot of things that were going on that I didn't really have the tools to process and just didn't really know how to talk about it. So, because of that, I shrunk inward. And as a result, I created an aversion to emotion. And that was my coping mechanism, was to numb out and just completely detach from my emotions. And at this point in my life, that has completely come to bite me in the butt. And now I'm in a stage where I'm trying to undo the damage that has been done. So, with all of that, prior to going into a relationship, I would say that I was a little reluctant to want to date. I was interested in people, I liked people, but I didn't really want to commit because committing myself opened myself up to possibly experiencing pain and or disappointment. In this relationship, there was definitely a lot of lying and manipulation and gaslighting. There was a lot of gaslighting, and as a result of the gaslighting, it created a lot of insecurity for me because, my boyfriend at the time was clearly cheating on me. And women's intuition, even though I wasn't a woman yet, I had a feeling, but somehow it just always got twisted or manipulated. And then eventually the narrative became that I was insecure and that I was jealous. The reality of it was that I was being cheated on. So it's not that my insecurity was being projected, my intuition was just being triggered. And when I addressed those things, it continued to get flipped onto me as if it was unfathomable that this guy could ever do that to me. And, my own insecurity and jealousy and all these things are creating this reality that isn't true. I don't know if anyone has ever been in a relationship like that, but it is extremely damaging. And one of the impacts of that for me was that I started to mistrust my own reality. What was right in front of me, I could not tell you if it was real or not, because everything that I thought was real, someone was manipulating me to distort it. And when you already don't have a strong sense of self, it's so easy to get tied into something like that. When that relationship ended, it was a very difficult time for me. I didn't really take the time to process how I felt about it. I put up this persona of being heartless, emotionless, cold. Side note, funny story, in high school, I really still to this day don't know who did it. But somebody called me and left me a voicemail with the Kanye West song Heartless on it. But that is literally how I proceeded from then on. There were twinges of that prior to this relationship, but man, did this relationship amplify it. I absolutely refused to commit. So, I was talking to a lot of different guys, and I don't know. I think it just helped me during that time period to find value in myself, because I didn't feel valued based on the way that I got treated in my last relationship. So I felt like, if this guy's interested in me and that guy's interested in me, and, all these people want to pursue a relationship with me, then that must make me worthwhile. And somebody could very easily be making a video about me and how I impacted them, because my feelings and my selfish motives of wanting to feel good about myself impacted the way that I treated other people. I didn't really treat guys that I was talking to in a way that demonstrated their value. I didn't really get into another relationship for a while until I was in college, and this relationship was a very codependent relationship. It got to a point where I felt like this guy needed me. I saw myself in him a lot. He didn't really open up to a lot of people. He wasn't really very vulnerable, but we built a strong relationship where I got to see him open up. And I know that he was just battling with a lot of things, a lot of dark things, like we all are. And I essentially enmeshed myself with this guy and felt like I have to be with him, because if I'm not, who is he gonna talk to? Very irrational thoughts that are really based in ego and wanting to feel needed, like, at the end of the day. And even still in this relationship, I never overtly cheated, but I would say I toed the line of boundaries, because that insatiable need to feel valued. And although I was in a relationship, I still don't think that I was feeling valued. And the reality of it is that I was trying to find my value in someone else. Nobody can give that to you. So I was about to say it's no fault of his own, but partially it is. But, the stage of life that he was in, and just the person and experiences and past that he had, like, I'm not even holding him for it. The same way that, I know that I hurt other people. I'm not trying to put myself on this pedestal and portray myself as the victim. And I'm also not trying to put anybody down. I was trying to find my value in this relationship and in other guys, and it was insatiable. It was literally an insatiable dark hole. And that relationship ended. It ended very ugly. And, I never took the time to heal in between these relationships and situationships. Then comes my next relationship. And this relationship, we definitely had unhealthy patterns and behaviors. But the greatest part about this relationship was that we were sincere friends. Side note, if you're not in a relationship and you're looking for a relationship, free nugget, please make sure that you are friends first. If you're hoping to get married and move further along in your relationship and your level of commitment and seriousness, being friends first is so important, because when things get hard and you're not friends, there's really not much incentive to want to stay in that relationship. Be sure that you have a strong foundation as friends, because if it's just romantic interest, that fades. It fades with time. It's just a fact of life. But in this relationship, although there were unhealthy patterns, the greatest thing that I took away from this relationship is believing that I was worthy of love. And the way I learned that through this relationship is I sincerely believe that the person that I was in the relationship with at the time really got to know me. He got to know my truth. He got to know my past, things that I had never shared with people before. I shared with him, and he radically accepted me. And it wasn't just things that had nothing to do with him. Over the years, I know I hurt this person so much, and I lied so much, and my dirt and past and hurt and all these things impacted this relationship, and it was so powerful because he continued to love me anyway. And to be able to be loved like that is groundbreaking. And it was groundbreaking for me because it opened up the door for me to be able to have a relationship with God. Because I absolutely believe that had I not had this experience in this relationship, I would have never bought into the idea that I could be loved unconditionally. I could be worth dying for. I could be worth God sacrificing his only son for. I would have never bought into that because up to this point, I wasn't in a place to receive that. And in most places, I was not receiving that. So for someone to radically accept me, flaws and all, was monumental. And I have to make a whole nother video of how that led me into my relationship with God and how I had to walk away from that relationship to choose my relationship with God, because he opened up the door for it, but it was very tempting to make him my God. And I know that probably sounds very dramatic and colorful, and you're probably like, what does that even mean? But I idolized this relationship because it gave me something that I had never received before. But the reality of it is no matter how good that relationship made me feel, it paled in comparison to the love that I received from God. And now that kind of leads to the present moment. Man, I can't say that I didn't see myself being married, but for a very long time, I did not want to get married. I was terrified of the idea of marriage. All these unhealthy patterns and relationships have impacted even my relationship with my husband. And you have to be aware of these things. You have to be aware of your past and how it impacts you, because not taking that time to look inward is going to continue to impact the person that you're wanting to be in a relationship with. And you could literally be self-sabotaging your relationship because you don't want to face your past. So for me, this is something very silly, but while we were dating, my boyfriend at the time, asked me to call him as soon as I got out of class. Simple enough. I decided not to call him until I got home, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but I knew my heart behind it. My heart behind it was I didn't want to seem pressed or thirsty or whatever the case may be, so much so that playing very little games. And although in the grand scheme of things, there are much worse things that I could have done, but that's me bringing unhealthy patterns and behaviors into the relationship. Because the reality of it is, if you continue to dig down, it's just a fear of being vulnerable. There's nothing wrong with demonstrating that you like someone. But I was so fearful of making it clear to this person that I was interested in them, or wanting to have some false sense of control that I was the person that was less invested or was less attracted or liked you less. It made me feel like I had the power in the relationship. Just in our culture today, in relationships, we just play so many games. I play so many games. I open up your message, but I don't want to respond back immediately because I don't want to seem like I was waiting at the phone for your text message. Even being interested and invested and committed to someone, but then still keeping your side pieces for real and putting it under the guise of that's just my friend. When reality of it is that if you wanted to pursue something seriously with this person, they would be open to it. Or they might think that you're committed to them in the way that you're committed to somebody else. Lots of people have the dream of wanting to get married and having this ideal fairy tale vision of what it looks like. Let me be the first to tell you, if nobody has told you before, marriage is amazing and it's beautiful, but it's hard work. And if you're still engaging in immature, petty games to protect yourself, it's gonna make marriage that much harder. And I don't say that on a pedestal. I've been married all of 8 months. Like, what do I even know? Nothing at all, really. But what I do know is that make new mistakes. Don't make the same mistakes that I've made. I'm getting to know myself and trying to change and trying to be different. But if you're not married, get to know yourself now. If you are married, it's never too late. Take the time to understand the destructive patterns that have been created by the things that you've gone through and the things that you've experienced. And it doesn't take away from the validity of your emotions throughout those experiences, but the reality of it is that your response is your responsibility. You know, somebody hurt me and I want to blame them for making my heart cold, for making me heartless, and for making me all these things. No, I decided to make a decision. And yes, that was a protective decision, but I had to own that and say that I made a choice to do this. Nobody made me like this. Nobody turned me into a thug, a girl with feelings like a man. You know, nobody turned me into that. I allowed myself to become that, trying to protect myself. I really just want to bring it back to that question that I started with. Have you thought about how your past relationships have impacted your relationship currently, and just impacted you as a person in general? Take the time to really think through those things that are still vivid in your memory, because if they're still vivid for you and still trigger some kind of emotion for you, it's likely that you've adjusted the person that you are in order to protect yourself from re-experiencing those painful things. So really take the time to reflect back and think on how you can be better for yourself, for your future. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate everyone's support thus far. Continue to tune in, and maybe next time we'll be in my car. Maybe next time we'll be on my couch. Who knows? Keep up with Dust to Diamonds. Peace out, y'all.